Hi there and welcome to the Audio Dev Hangout. My name is Andrew Hind and today I'm really delighted to have with me Bobby from the MystiveDev. Hi Bobby, how are you doing?
Hey there, I'm amazing. I had a lot of work today, but like people say, when you love what you're doing, it doesn't feel like work.
There's a lot of truth in that, isn't there? I often actually feel slightly guilty about the fact that I sort of work making music and it doesn't feel like work at all. Yes, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. There's a definite guilt for me in that, I have to say. I've always had that. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been doing the last few months and what you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, sure thing. So I can start like from the beginning because a lot of people probably do not know a lot about me. Uh, like I said, I don't want to talk too much about this thing, but I felt like, what the heck? I'm gonna go with it. So since this is a music audio channel, I'm gonna mention this. Like 15 years ago, I was a singer, a rock singer. I was a musician for 14 years and had concerts in Belarus, in the US, and in Europe. I was on several festivals, but I don't want to talk too much about it because that's like my past life. Something happened and I completely abandoned music, like, I don't know, 4 years ago, probably.
Okay, okay.
Yes, but I can say that music is one of the best things out there because it's pure emotion and I love music, especially like rock and classical music. So when I ended music, or let me just think about it. During my time while I was a singer, I also loved 3D modeling. So I started it as a hobby.
Right.
So I started learning 3ds Max and ZBrush back then. I took some lessons online, but it wasn't anything serious. It was just for fun until an opportunity showed up and I met a friend who asked me, like, would you like to enter into game development and start working on a game? And since I'm a like a like a great gamer, I love to play a lot of games. I said, sure, let's do it. A little did we know that game development is not just modeling and game design and level design and so on. So the first game I started 6 years ago was Alan Sharp, which is currently on Steam. It's a psychological survival horror game
Mhm.
where you play as a detective. So when I started Alan Sharp, I read a lot of articles, a lot of books, and I realized that you need a lot of marketing. So marketing is like the most important thing in my life that I realized I need this to in order to succeed. And combined with the books I started reading, like I got interested into entrepreneurial books, like from Robert Kiyosaki and so on. I realized that, yeah, marketing is the most important thing in order for this product to succeed. And it was that choice that made Alan Shaw basically succeed, enter into 5-figure sales so I can leave my desk job and become a full-time indie developer. I did not mention I worked in 2 marketing companies as a lead gen and also as a data analyst, but it wasn't like anything serious and so diverse like what I'm doing now. At the moment, I also work social media, I do SEO and so on. Basically, everything required to promote an indie game.
Yes. I think I was thinking about this earlier on, actually. I read somewhere a couple of days ago, I think, or it's a fairly well-known thing, isn't it? But somebody was discussing this whole principle of, well, if you make something good enough, then they will come, I think is the term, something like that. The idea being that actually, if you're producing a game, say, for example, or in my case, an amazing piece of music or an amazing piece of game, amazing game, actually, if you're good enough, then there is some school of thought that says, well, actually, you don't need to market it. You will be found. You make it, and they will come. And I don't think, personally, don't think that's true. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I agree. It's a common topic among
Yeah.
indie developers too. But the thing is, no, it's not true. But maybe it could have been true like 20 to 25 years ago.
Yes.
But at the moment, as you can see on Steam, there are a lot of games coming out every day.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter how perfect your game is if you don't have coverage, if you don't have what I call brand awareness, and people know about your game, it won't like shine like a diamond in the crowd. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you think that a number of devs just get totally drawn into the technicalities and the great joy of actually creating the game, and just then can't be bothered to do the marketing, or they don't know how to do the marketing, or they assume that it's going to take off, due to what we've just said? Why do you think there is such a need in the marketplace at the moment for really good information for indie devs in terms of digital marketing?
Well, the thing is, I mean, I had the same experience myself before I started marketing. The thing is, usually artists, like we tend to focus on a single like stuff. We wanted to bring it to perfection. Yes. And we all know that there isn't such thing as perfection. And we're continually like trying to improve it. And we're entering in this loop, like where you're constantly trying to make it better and never releasing it. Yeah. And but the thing is, I think before you start game development, you need to think about your goals. And my goal when I started game development was becoming a full-time indie game developer. So you will need to understand that game design and level design is not the only thing required to be a full-time game dev. It takes all the other things like marketing and business experience and so on in order to become a full-time indie game dev. So, but when I've talked with other game developers, I realized that a lot of them think that marketing is like going on social media and telling people to buy your game and so on. But marketing is like a very broad topic. So for example, you can't ask someone to buy your game if he has no idea about your game, if he doesn't know who you are. For example, like there are two shops and one shop is from Nike and the other shop is like some regular, I don't know, shop that's just started selling some trainers. People will go to Nike to buy the stuff because they already trust Nike, they know about it, and there are a lot of advertisements like around. So basically, marketing is the entire process to get your game seen until all the way to the people buying it. So it's not just like going on social media and asking them to buy it.
It's really hard though. If you're I totally get that. If you're a single person game studio, or there's two people working on the game, though, actually the thought of marketing or advertising in competition to some of these big studios that maybe have a marketing department, or no matter how good your game is, it just must seem like an incredibly daunting process. I mean, my understanding, making a game in itself is a daunting process. It's a process that can take many years and a huge amount of vision and effort. And it must seem overwhelming to a very, very small, particularly beginner studio, to think, well, actually, okay, well, I've made the game. Now I've got to do this whole marketing thing. How do I, as a tiny fish, compete in a vast marketplace where there are studios with possibly, really big marketing budgets? And it must be a really, really hard position to be in.
Yeah, but the thing is, when I started like game development and talk with other game developers, usually the beginner game developers think like, I'm gonna make this amazing game and sell it for millions and so on. I do not think about it that way. So there was a poll on LinkedIn, actually, this will be interesting, and they asked, if you're working the job that you love, when do you plan to retire? And I just chose never. Yeah. So it's not about the money, it's about the journey and the experience. So if you make enough money to cover your next project and cover the mortgages and the living and family costs and so on, you can continue making games all your life. It's not about like creating a single game and become a millionaire. So yeah, it's the love for this work. And yeah, I agree that a lot of beginner indie game studios have worries that they can't do marketing, but usually they do the mistake, like they're developing the game and they start marketing in the end of the process. But the thing is, marketing should start the first day when you start developing. So for example, you can share work in progress. You can share, I don't know, some GIF or JPEG or anything to get people interested. So marketing will go side by side with the development.
Okay, that's a really good tip, isn't it? That you sort of incorporate it into the day-to-day development, and it becomes part of the routine. So, and how would that develop? So that's going to create awareness, isn't it? So if you're putting things on social media, you're getting people's interest on Instagram, Twitter, presumably are the two logical channels to do that. I see a number of indie devs start YouTube channels and they seem to die quite quickly, I think, on YouTube for some reason. There's a number of things you click through and the YouTube channels don't seem to be taking off. Is there anything else they should do for a start? What would be your sort of key tips to sort of get the ball rolling on a marketing sort of good footing for marketing?
Well, the first tip will be follow MystiveDev on Instagram.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'll put your thing in the link. I'll put your handle in the link at the end of this. I'll ask you at the end to repeat that as well. Yeah, go on.
I had a post on MystiveDev on Instagram where I discussed this particular topic. So like I said, they will need to do a research on the AIDA marketing funnel, which is basically awareness, interest, desire, and action. Mm-hmm. So when you're sharing on social media, like on Facebook, Instagram, I don't know, Twitter, and so on, you're building brand awareness. So this is like, social media is great for screaming like, this is my game, check it out, and so on, to people who have no idea who you are and what your game is about and so on. However, if you want to bring those people into the next stage of the funnel, you will need to take a little bit of different approach. For example, if you post on social media, always have a call to action where you bring those people on landing page where they can subscribe to your email newsletter, for example. So why do I say new email newsletter? At the moment, besides working on my own games, I also work for 2 UK companies as a freelance social media marketeer, and for another company as a full-time digital marketeer. And according to my research, and if you check on Google, of course, you will see that email marketing is like the most effective marketing strategy of them all. And the reason being is because email marketing is like basically one-to-one. It's not like on social media where you're sharing your content to a lot of people. It's like you're talking directly. It's more personalized. And when they provide you their email address, you can nurture this relationship with further content, like provide something that you won't share on social media, like behind the scenes, some interesting stuff to make them feel special and part of your project. So that would be the second step. And according to the research, 94% of email subscribers who are nurtured properly, of course, will become your buyers. I mean, they will convert into the action phase of the AIDA marketing funnel.
Yeah, that's gold dust. I mean, that is the thing, isn't it? Because it is, if you see somebody on, I don't know, Twitter or something, or Instagram, and actually you might sort of touch in with them, even if you follow them a couple of times. But as you say, there's no real connection. But actually, if you have an email address and you can send them really relevant, pertinent, interesting content on a regular basis, then you build up, as you say, you become part of the family, sort of, don't you? You become sort of part of the process and part of the ecosystem. Was it 94%? Did you say?
Yeah.
Wow.
94%. Also, one thing I would also like to mention, I mentioned it on MystiveDev. Keep in mind that you will need to check there's a marketing rule, which is like very popular among marketers. It's like 70-20-10 rule, where where you post 70% of your content, something which is of value to your target audience. 20% will be like sharing content from other developers, other people in your niche, and only 10% will be the sales. So don't go like spamming on people, buy my game. First, you will need to get them interested in your game.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, no, that is really, really brilliant. So I mean that's a strategy that an indie dev would use. You want sort of a first base. You would want to get people on your mailing list, get a sort of family of people interested, wouldn't you? Where would you go, broadly speaking, from there then? Are there other avenues that you would sort of logically move on to once the game is a bit more developed, or there's more stuff that you can show, or you've got a bit of a wider sort of group of people that are interested in it?
Well, when people provide you their email addresses, it means that they trust you, especially now with all those GDPR rules and so on, if they trust you enough to provide you the email address and they keep subscribed to you, it means that they are interested in your content. You can, for example, use MailChimp or MailerLite just to check which people open your emails, your newsletter, and so on. And you will continue nurturing this relationship all the way to until your release date. What's very important is that's how the Steam algorithm works, is when you get to the launch day, it's very important to get those people to buy the game. So in a way, it's like you've provided all these months before, like some valuable, fun, entertaining content. People love what you're doing, and now it's time to ask them to buy the game. Right. So you've provided so much, and now you ask this little bit, like, buy my game. Mm-hmm. So that's basically the strategy. One tip I could provide, which I haven't also shown on MystiveDev, is when I read about it, it's like I hated it, because I'm not much fan of the Kardashians,
Okay, yes.
Yeah, but their marketing strategy is great. It's amazing. Yeah. And the reason being is, if you, for example, we've all seen clickbait titles, yes. Like if you've seen my posts, 9 amazing tips to great level design and so on. The only difference is when I type 9 tips, I tend to give those tips. But what I'm saying is the headline, the title. The title is very important when you're posting on social media, when you're sending the newsletter. Think about, like, which email would you open if someone sent to you?
Yeah. So you decide super quick, don't you? I think you have something like 2 or 3 seconds or something, don't you, where people decide whether to open an email or to put it in their spam or just to delete it.
Yeah, like definitely.
That. Yeah. Just rewinding a little bit back to you talked about getting your game on Steam, and eventually, sort of after having nurtured this relationship with your mailing list, the Steam page goes up, the thing goes up, it's all ready and asking people to buy. You mentioned the algorithm. So presumably, if during the first few days of the game being live on Steam, that it gets a fair amount of interest and number of sales, presumably it then naturally sort of gets a kick from the Steam algorithm, and it's likely to be found by people who have no contact with it in the general Steam search term, or in the general Steam sort of whole thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, usually the algorithm is like this. So when all these people buy the game on launch day, Steam will recognize, like, that there are so many people interested in this game, and the algorithm will push the game itself. But in a way, it will push it to people who are interested in these sort of games. Like, for example, I'm developing a horror game. It will show up like a game similar to this one. So it could be great to tell those people to buy the game on launch day, because it will help with marketing on Steam. But marketing is a very broad topic. I mean, we can talk all day about it. For example, even on Steam, you will need to have search engine optimization, keywords, and so on, the proper tags. There are a lot of things to cover.
Wow, yeah, tons and tons of stuff, And tell me why. I asked you at the beginning, or I was going to ask you before we started recording, why did you go for MystiveDev? Why was that your title of your marketing?
Well, the thing is, when I started with Alan Sharp, I developed Alan Sharp with another friend, and we were called Mystive Studios. So Mystive was like 2 words, mysterious detective. And we decided to go with Mystive. And I just chose MystiveDev because I like the sounding of it.
That's super cool. And just tell us a little bit about what people can find, because I want to ask you a little bit about your sort of music background in a minute, but just tell us a little bit about what people can find, particularly on your Instagram profile with MystiveDev, and what sort of information you're putting out.
MystiveDev, I started MystiveDev like a year ago, and it's a personal brand. So MystiveDev is basically like, how do I say it? Game development, game design, level design, and digital marketing focused brand, which aims to help indie game developers power up their game journey, release their dream game. And the main purpose is to provide like knowledge, educational content of value, contribute to the global indie game community, and help more developers become full-time indie game developers. So that was the main reason, because when I was doing the research, I realized that a lot of indie devs do not succeed because of having no marketing strategy or a bad marketing strategy. And I was like, I'm gonna be direct with this one. Why those AAA companies take all the money? Why can't indie devs take some of the money too and live their dream? So that was the main reason I started MystiveDev.
That's awesome. And I have to say, if you're listening and you haven't actually tried or you haven't been on MystiveDev, I'll put the where to find it underneath in the description. The quality and the quantity actually of stuff that you're putting out on there is absolutely top rate. It's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
I think it just comes across. I mean, it's perfect for social media. It's perfect for Instagram because you get a total sense of you genuinely, absolutely wanting to help people through the content that you're putting out. It's totally focused at indie devs. It's totally focused on digital marketing, and it is absolutely top quality. It's absolutely brilliant. So if you are listening and you haven't looked, then it really is well worth taking some time to set aside half an hour or more with a cup of tea and look through some of your past posts, because there's a lot of them, and I think almost without exception, every single one is an absolute little gem of advice on digital marketing. It's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. It means a lot.
Can I ask you then, just going back to where we started? So I didn't know this when I asked you to come on the podcast, that you have a musical background. So tell me how your years as a musician what influence has it had on particularly on your game dev journey? Because you must have a sort of particular, I don't know, the way you think about sound in a game, or the way you think about how music in the games that you've produced. Has that been influenced by your past sort of experience? Do you think that's been useful, or is there no link or connection there?
Actually, there's a lot of link, because like I said, I had a manager. I performed on a lot of festivals. I had my own concerts and so on. The only thing that I could say it helped me more in digital marketing than game development, because in order to stand in front of a lot of people, for example, in Belarus, I was singing in front of like 10,000 people.
Wow.
And you will need to beat that stage fright and just get out there and sing and so on. Yes. So that's the same with marketing. You can't be shy. You just need to be open to people and talk about your things and so on. But regarding game development, it helped me a lot regarding the artistic part, like I can say. So for example, when I started music, everyone starts like learning a guitar or something. So I was like a guitar player. Then I also played the piano, and I was a singer too. I can say that this creative process, while being in music, it is also enhanced in a way in game development. So for example, as you're learning in music, as you're finding new inspiration and new stuff around you, it helped me like to look at things differently while in game development.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think there's a similar, well, I can imagine there being a similar process, a similar creative process between the discipline of learning an instrument, or the discipline of learning how to sing or how to perform, and also the discipline of sort of channeling your creative process into making a game as well. I think there must be a sort of link, or there must be a similar sort of thought process that goes into it, I would have thought.
Yeah, usually the artistic part is the most important, and it helps a lot in like how do I say it, like building the story. So for example, it's part of the artistic process. So that's the way it helped me.
Yeah. And what's it? I've performed in some fairly big venues. I wasn't a singer when I performed. I was an orchestral brass player. But what is it actually like to stand in front of 10,000 people and just sing your heart out? What does it feel like on a good day?
How do I say it? It was amazing, but it was also scary, because in Belarus it was like my own concert with the presidential orchestra of Belarus.
Wow!
And I was singing "Show Must Go On" by Queen. What else I was singing? Mr. Big, To Be With You, Bon Jovi.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and AC/DC. So those were the songs I was performing back then.
Oh, amazing. And I can imagine just that sort of. I can't imagine actually singing. I've sung in choirs. I'm not really a singer. I've sung sort of in choirs, but there's something very you must sort of feel quite naked singing. Well, I've always performed either in a choir or I have performed solo, but I've always had an instrument in front of me, so I would play an instrument. But there must be something very, very naked feeling, and very I don't know. There's something very basic about standing in front of that many people with just your voice and performing. It must take some real guts, some real guts.
Thankfully, these concerts were in the later stage of my music career, and I can say that it's like pure emotion. It's like energy when you're standing in front of those people. You just close your eyes, like imagine some beautiful moment in your life, and start singing, performing. So, and the feedback which you receive when the song is over, that's I don't know how to say it. That's a feeling that cannot be described with words.
Yes, no, absolutely, yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. I can't believe we've actually been talking for half an hour nearly. Do you mind if I ask you 2 or 3 quick fire questions? These are going to be totally random.
Sure.
I'm just going to ask you. I've got some cards here with some numbers on them from 1 to 10. Just give me a number between 1 and 10, and I'll give you a random question. Go on.
Let's go with 7.
Number 7. Okay. 777. Okay. What's been the biggest surprise about game dev in the last few months?
The biggest surprise was that I can do it myself, because I was a 3D artist before. While I was working in Mystic Studios, I had no idea about programming, and when I started taking like some courses, because I realized I'm going to be a solo dev, since I left Mystic Studios due to some creative differences.
Right.
When I realized that I'm going to be a solo dev, I said, I need to learn this. I don't know if I can do it. And the surprise was that if you love something, you can do it no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Excellent answer. Give me another number.
Let's go with 3.
If you had an extra hour in the day, every day, just for yourself, what would you do with it?
Probably invest in Bitcoin.
Would you?
Well, that would be the 25th hour, because a lot of times I work like 14 hours a day. Besides working on my own games, I also work like I said, like a freelancer, and it takes a lot of time, really, but as long as it's the job you love, it's no big issue.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. We started by talking about this, didn't we, before we recorded? It is, isn't it? And if you love doing it, it's very easy just to actually just that's all you do. I find it quite difficult to sometimes switch off from it. I think particularly working, I work at home. I'm in a separate room when I work and write music, but I'm at home, and it's sometimes a bit difficult to separate home life from writing music life for me. I have to be quite organized about that, and it could easily become, well, I could just sit in the studio for 12 hours and not really do anything else. Not because I feel like it's work, but as you say, purely because I actually just love doing it. It's what I do, even if I wasn't being paid to do it. So
yeah, definitely. I shared a post on MystiveDev, like saying time management is the most important thing if you wish to succeed.
Yes, I absolutely, and that's something that really takes some mastering. I think time management is really hard, really difficult. Thank you so much. It's been a complete pleasure talking to you, and there's I mean, we've scratched the surface of your knowledge and scratched the surface of the whole topic of marketing, I think. But hopefully, if you're listening, that's given you a little bit of an insight into and maybe some ideas about where to go and what to do. People can find out more information at MystiveDev on Instagram. You're on Twitter as well, I think, aren't you? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Reddit, and on YouTube.
Oh my goodness! Okay, that's awesome. I will find all or most of those, and I'll link underneath in the description. Don't go away, but I'm just going to sign off on the recording. Thank you so much for being with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bobby and I were chatting after the podcast just now, and we realised that we hadn't actually spoken about Bobby's current game, which is called Mirror Forge. So here he is now to tell you a little bit about it.
Okay, so Mirror Forge is basically a psychological survival horror game, which is heavily inspired by Silent Hill. I love the Silent Hill franchise, especially the symbolism that Team Silent used, like to build the design and the characters and so on, and also the Stranger Things series, which is very popular now. So I love to create like a perfect mix between Stranger Things and Silent Hill, and establish my own story, which will be inspired by it, but not be a clone of it. So that's basically Mirror Forge. I don't know if I should tell what Mirror Forge is, because I still haven't. Yeah, it will be like the first time I mention it. So Mirror Forge is in an infernal machine, which is used to open portals to alternate realities. I haven't mentioned this before, so this will be the first time.